I got I got a message on my screen that says we're live. So, hello everybody, we're live. Live with the interview between Aldi and Board Game Geek. Sorry, Aldi and Reiner Knizia. Board Game Geek. I'm from Board Game Geek, by the way. Can you tell I'm a little nervous interviewing Reiner after 20 years? The last time I talked was 20, actually it was 19 years ago at the Kubla Khan convention, where you actually interviewed us. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that very well. That's the first time we met in person, and
Yeah,
I made a little joke. And when I
you did.
remember very well in the situation in the room with the spectators there, and just out of the instant, I thought, okay, I'll take over. I'll do the opening.
So
and
it was a on the spur of the moment. You're just like, I'm going to be because you were actually sitting in the audience. Do you remember that? So we were
I
setting it up because I
okay.
was listening to this the replay of this morning, and you were sitting in the audience, and we had to call you up to come to the stage. There was no stage, but it was just the front of the room. Anyway, it's good to have you after all these years to interview you again. And by the way, I got now this is a 30-year journal that you gave me 10 years ago for um, celebrating your 30 years of design, but now 10 years have ticked by on this clock and you're on your
Yes,
40th year of design. Congratulations. It's such an achievement.
thank you. So I
Um,
should send you our new bag, 40 years of Knizia games.
oh,
Uh,
absolutely. So I can put this book in the bag. Yeah. By the way, you wrote a very nice note. It says, Michelle and Scott, which my wife is Michelle. Enjoy. One good idea per page, please.
there are 5,000 pages in this book.
It's 200 pages. By the way,
So
I
how
found
many
this
have you
just
built?
zero. So here's the funny story. We moved last year, or not last year, 5 years ago, and I found this recently because I packed it up. Like I had it on my shelf, I'm like, oh, I'm going to use it. And I found it on when I was unpacking, and I was happy that I found it. I'm sad that I did not put any great ideas into the book. So anyway,
Well, there's still time.
there's still a lot of time. Okay. We're good. We're live. I see us on YouTube. Let me just double check one thing. I think we're good. So, um, my first question, not really a question. I was reading the Board Game Geek website last night. You may have heard of it. Uh, 811 designs are credited to you on Board Game Geek as a designer. Is that accurate? 811?
There is no accurate number
Yeah,
because when do you count a game as an independent game? When do you count a spin-off as a new game, as the same game? We are certainly over 800, and we may get close to 1,000 if you count graciously, but it doesn't really matter. It's
right.
also not about how many, it's also about the quality and how much joy you bring to the people. And of course, games are different. So some have a wider audience and had more success, and some had their time and are no longer available. And that's all good.
Right. Interesting. The do you know your top when I say owned, meaning a person on Board Game Geek has marked it as owned, like they have a collection, they can keep track of their
Mhm.
games. Do you know your top five owned games? Like, could you
No,
want
I
to
don't.
try to
I
take a
don't know how
guess?
to
Because I have
access.
the information.
Okay,
Would you like would you like to guess first? Here, you guess, and I'll tell you if it's on the top five.
it's probably there should be Ra amongst it.
Raw is number three, the third
Number,
of out
number
of your titles, the third most
okay.
owned.
Tigris and Euphrates is a bit out of print, and we'll come to that. So I'm not sure if that made the top five.
Are you going to call it as a top five?
Yes.
Okay, it is number five on the list.
Okay. What is number one?
Number
I
one, number one kind of surprised me, but number two also surprised me. So I'll just say that.
I have no
Number
idea.
one,
Yes.
take a guess. Might be right.
Is it an older game, a newer game?
It's older. Yeah. Let me tell you. Well, if I tell you the year, that
Modern
might
art?
give it away.
Modern art?
Say it, modern art? No, not modern. Not
Eldorado?
art. Modern art is number four.
Oh, so I have three hits. Eldorado?
Yes. Eldorado is number two. That kind of
Now
surprised
the
me.
elusive number one. I
Yeah. What
have
is it? Oh gosh, what could it be? It's a card game.
Llama,
No,
High
a little
Society.
older, little newer, I think, if I'm going by my timing. Yeah, it's so weird, right? Like it's one of those games that you kind of forget about over the years, but it's been there like, and it's so
Enlighten us.
crucial. It's so crucial in when you recommend people to play games, this always gets recommended. If I'm playing with
Lost
my
Cities.
partner,
Lost Cities.
Lost Cities. Yeah, Lost Cities.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Good. Yes. That is. A lot of people told me that's my spouse game because
yeah,
gamers are. I think in past times the male community dominated the gaming, and sometimes the girlfriends or the
yeah,
wives didn't play that much. But people often told me that Lost Cities is a spouse game. My wife, my
right.
girlfriend likes it as well. We can play. Good.
Yeah, I think I recognize that.
That's
I
interesting
don't.
because
Yeah.
we have just commissioned new graphics or an updated graphics for Lost Cities, and we are relaunching Lost Cities worldwide. We have just started with the first editions, and next year we'll go worldwide with a refreshed a set of 3 games. So the
Okay.
original duel is a 2-player game, and then there's a dice game, and then there's a tile game. They're all relatively small, so we'll see what happens.
Interesting. Will it have an artwork? The thing about Lost Cities that I loved was the artwork was panoramas, I think is what of
Mhm.
all the explorations across the board on the it was just wonderful. When you had it all laid out, like it just looked so pretty,
Yeah.
on the
So
table.
never
So
change a
might be
winning
something,
team,
of course. Keep the
never
formula.
change a winning game. So the game, it has got some refreshed artwork, but we have not changed the thematic positioning, and we have not changed the overall impression of the game because, as I said, people know it, people own it, people love it. So don't go away from it. Leave it as it is. Just make it a bit fresher. And
Yeah.
Bit Fresher doesn't criticize the old editions. It just says
Right.
time is on, and so
Yeah, that makes
they're
sense.
both
Makes sense. Yeah. Because
nice.
things change. Things change. Yeah. But I was also surprised about Quest for El Dorado because that's sort of new. Is it pretty newish? Like I would say five, is it about 5 years old, maybe?
7 years, something like that.
7?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, and that's a
Roughly.
wonderful game.
Don't
Like,
quote me. Yes, yes.
pardon?
Don't quote me on the 7 years. So
Oh yeah,
something in
I'm
this
just sort of
area. Okay.
guessing. There's some website you can look it up and find out for
Yeah.
real what year it
Yes,
published. But
yes. I can recommend one.
yeah, thank you. um, so I have a list of questions here, and my second question is a completely different topic from the 40-year celebration. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about before I move into a different topic about 40 years of
No,
design?
it's
Just
it
like,
is all fine. Time
does it
just
feel
flies.
any different? I mean, obviously differences in the world, but how does it feel for you as working in the industry for so long? Like, how has it changed? And
Of course, the industry has
things the
changed a
higher,
lot.
yeah,
I mean, 40 years ago, when I published my first games in the magazines, and then later with the publishers and wrote some books initially, the world was smaller. The world was not that connected. It was more isolated markets. Then the Eurogames came up, and Rio Grande Games brought a lot of the games to America.
right,
And so the whole globalization hadn't really started, and the whole networking of lots of localizations and so on was relatively new. The number of novelties was, of course, much smaller, so the market has exploded. We didn't have any digital games at that time, so that came as a windfall profit, if you want, because it's nice games which you can port over there. And then, of course, also the taste of the community, of the player community, changes, develops, because games are a mirror of our time, and time has moved on. It is much more hectic, much more short attention span. Let's get started. Why has nobody been killed in the first 2 minutes, like in the movies?
right,
And so
yeah. I felt that myself, like as because I remember playing much longer games back in 80s, 90s. Like I would play all day one game, but now I want to play shorter 2 hour, sub 2 hour games. My attention span definitely doesn't last as long as it used to.
And
But that's
then,
just
of
me getting
course,
old.
and then, of course, we have other developments like crowdfunding. I mean, this is all part
Right.
of the digital revolution and the globalization and the interconnectivity. And so, for example, for us, the crowdfunding has given lots of opportunities to take the classics back into big spotlight, because you can do nice deluxe editions and really tease people, a new generation who may not know these classics, and really bring them back into light. I
Yeah.
guess we'll talk about this as well.
Yeah.
So
In fact,
we have not,
that's a
I should
great.
say, we have not talked about any of the questions. So I don't know what you're asking, but I'm
No,
guessing.
I kept you.
I'm guessing that you will come
I
to
didn't.
some of
I
the
thought
games.
about sending you the questions at one point, and then I'm like,
No,
you know
no,
what? Maybe let's just not do that.
don't want
Okay,
to.
so
Spontaneous.
speaking of crowdfunding and new life and into older designs, we have an announcement to make, or you have an announcement to make. Do you want to say it? I won't take your thunder.
Yes. So I mean, you created the perfect bridge. I talked to the publisher, and I think one of the games which is very close to my heart, and which forgive me for saying so, I'm very proud of, and actually, which was the game which was for many years in that time in the 90s, early 20s, early zeros, the top one on Board Game Geek.
The number one game ranked.
Yeah, the number one for years is
Right.
Tigris and Euphrates. And this
Yes,
game
Tigris and Euphrates
will be re-released next year with wonderful new graphics. The elementary game has not changed, and I'm very, very happy that we found a publisher which I am absolutely confident, and I've already seen that, who will make a wonderful job of it. And I'm very excited to say that 25th Century Games will be re-releasing a new wonderful edition of Tigris and Euphrates. And we can share
It's amazing
the
news.
original
Yeah, yes, let's share
cover.
it. We have a screenshot of the cover. Let me share it here. Artwork by Ian O'Toole.
Yes.
Is that coming through?
Yes.
Making sure I've got it in the right. It looks like it might. Okay, there we go.
Oh, you shared your financial statement. Did you
Oh
want
no,
to?
I've done that before. No, it looks fantastic. I really love it. The art, the color of the art just pops so good. But it retains the Ishtar Gate, which I have a question about this graphic design of this game. Do you have any influence in the graphic design of these games by chance?
Well, you see, this is a good question, and it's a very deep question.
Okay.
I think.
Let me leave this up for one more second, and then I'll switch back to you full screen.
Yeah.
But it
I
looks
think
great.
when I do my game designs, I believe that that's mainly my area of design, and I don't really appreciate too much if the publisher afterward comes and wants to change everything around and completely redesign the game. On the other hand, I want the publisher to be professional and to do a really good production and marketing and release into the market. And I also believe, from the creative point of view, that the artist should have the freedom, within limitations, to be on the right track, but have the freedom to really fulfill their view and their vision of the game. So, with this respect, there's no briefing and no expectation from myself. The publisher does a bit more, I guess, but I will have a final look at the graphics, mainly to make sure that the graphics supports the game. Some illustrators make wonderful pictures and boards, but they're so colorful that you can look at them and they're empty. But when you play on them with all the pieces, you get totally confused. So there are some pitfalls which I want to avoid. And with this respect, I would look at it. But I wouldn't say, okay, you have to change this golden piece around here because it's not fitting the picture. I'm not the competent person to do that. I trust that the perfect artist will do that.
Got it.
And of course, Ian O'Toole is a perfect artist, very experienced, and I'm absolutely sure that he will deliver a masterpiece.
No, it looks great. I'm excited to play it and get it again, and honestly fall in love again with it, because I don't know. I think I've told you this story personally, but I don't know if I've shared this publicly. Maybe I have. I feel like I have told this story. When I got into gaming in the 90s, my when I moved back to Dallas, I was looking for a game group, and there was really hardly anywhere to find people playing games publicly, right? It was not a thing. So I put a post on the internet, or I read a post on the internet of a game group that was happening in Dallas, and I said, "Hey, can I join your game group?" And they wrote back to me and said, "No, but maybe," was the answer. They said, "Maybe you could join our great group. We have to interview you first," which was kind of stunning to me. I had never, that was an interesting response. By the way, asking someone out of the blue on the internet back in the 90s, incredibly crazy, right? Like, who did that? Anyway, that was, I was stepping way outside my comfort zone there. Anyway, so I met this group and we went to dinner and they interviewed me, right? Which was like questions and like talking and just, getting to know each other. And then they invited me back to the one of the guys' houses and we played a game. Guess which game it was?
Ah,
Tigris and Euphrates. And it just blew my mind. And I think at that moment was that spark hits you with gaming and Euro games and being like, that is what I want to play, and I want to spend all my free time doing that. And it was that game that was sort of the inspiration to get Board Game Geek started, get it off the ground. I really
oh,
do owe a lot of credit to that game, hooking me into the hobby and like getting me interested and starting like figuring out what the German games were. We called them German games back then because they were all coming out of Germany, of course. Now it's obviously global, but yeah, Tigris Euphrates was the one that just basically was the
very,
yeah.
very nice story. And now I have a question, a quiz
Okay.
question for
Oh,
you.
you're quizzing. Okay.
Because on your website, Board Game Geek, you have a running number of the games, how they were entered.
Yes.
Which number is Tigris and Euphrates? It's a perfect number.
Uh, I think it's, I think, oh gosh, what was it?
The answer,
Is it 42? It's 42.
yes, it is
Yeah, yeah,
42. The answer
yeah.
to everything.
Which is just crazy how that worked out. We just like, because we were, another little story, and I don't want to take this time away from us for your interview, but the games that were entered on BGG in order was just our collections. We would just go on our shelves and just run down the games like as they were stacked, and that was the number 42.
Mhm. And do you know which number I am amongst the
As a
designers?
designer, I do. You're number 2. You're the second designer entered on the website.
That's
Yeah, which
fantastic.
is pretty strong. Yeah, yeah. What's game number 2? Because that's an interesting idea. What is that one? I feel like you are in the top 10 of games entered on the website.
I know that Ra is number 12 and Medici is number
Yeah.
46, but I didn't know how to look that up actually.
Yeah, it's a little trickier. I'd have to run through all the numbers. Oh, Samurai is number 3.
Oh,
So
oh,
that's probably that's interesting because the number 1 game is Die Macher, and
okay.
number
Oh, that's
2
Karl
is
Schmid, who is number one designer. Okay, yes.
right, and then number 2 is a game called Dragon Master, which
Mhm,
was like a card game from the 80s, which is a
mhm.
reimplementation of Coup d'etat, which is a card game. Um, but number 3 is Samurai. But we
Okay,
must we must not have known the designer of Dragon Master, right?
okay.
We probably put the game in and we're like, oh, we'll put the designer name in later, that kind of thing. Anyway, yeah, a little interesting bit of trivia about Board Game Geek and the our interactions with you.
So
I
we
have a
have a
question about
okay.
the theme of Tigris and Euphrates. Have you been to the Berlin Museum, the Pergamon Museum that has the replica of the reconstruction of the Ishtar Gate? Did that play into the game at all? The
No, I
design or
have not.
anything?
I have not been there.
Oh, okay.
Tigers and Euphrates was actually created in my very early days in the UK. Um,
Okay. So you weren't
and
even in Germany at that time.
no, I wasn't. Well,
Yeah,
I was
interesting.
going back and forth, but
Yeah.
the I did a lot of research, a lot of reading, because that inspires the mechanisms and how the kingdoms grew and then fell apart again. So the whole different interrelations of marriages and some kingdoms being kind of somewhat related, and then you're related to the third kingdom and different interests. So I wanted to express it, and yeah, it was a long testing and lots of fun. And that was during the time when I wasn't a full-time game designer yet. So that was
Oh, you were
my
working a
free
day
time.
job?
Yes,
Yeah. Was that in the banking when you were in the banking
yes,
industry?
that was
Yeah.
the banking side.
So the game was released in 1997, according to Board Game Geek. I don't know if
Yes,
that's correct.
that was the year when I actually jumped and became a full-time game designer. Yes,
So that was your first year of full-time game design?
end of '97. Yes.
End of
So
97.
mhm.
Oh wow, okay. How long did it take to develop that game? Like from the first thinking of it and then the final product?
It's not easy for me to reconstruct, but I think it was about 1.5 years.
Okay. 1.5 years. So I remember reading on old blogs back in the day. Now this is well after the game came out, and I didn't play it till I want to say 1998 or 1999. I don't remember which. This was pre Board Game Geek, and so I would go back and search the little bit of information on the internet about board games, and there was quite a few blogs about this game and how anticipated it was. It was highly anticipated. Do you remember that?
I wasn't so much in the digital community and the communication there. And of course, with having my full-time banking job and trying
Yeah,
to design games, something had to go. And so I focused on these two things. I mean, the
gotcha.
banking job, I managed a 300 people company with £2 billion of new business every year. So that was it was not a side job, and then carving out time for Euphrates and Tigris, or Tigris and Euphrates, and other games. I just had to focus.
Yeah. Well, not many people were on the internet in the late 90s. You had to struggle to get on the online. This was definitely pre-broadband. We had dial-up modems, like very slow
Yes.
access. Um, I lived in a with a couple of guys who were pro gamers in Dallas, and they bought a DSL line, which is like the pretty fast comparatively. And I thought we were and that's why I started the server for Board Game Geek in the house because we had the high speed internet. Anyway, but I was online all the time, of course, and being in the video game industry in the 90s, it was all about board blogs of design or the what was it called, dot plan. There was a thing called the dot plan file, which was like a text file. So it was like early blogging, and video game developers would update their plan files, and then that's how they communicated. And so that's how I was in the internet all the time and reading about the blogs of your designs and how anticipated it was. And I think there was a big disappointment that it didn't come out the year before. Like there was some kind of thing that happened. At least this is from my memory of just reading the stuff. But they were like 1996, I guess, didn't come out at SN. But then SN after that, it did come out, and it was like everybody's like, "Wow." Anyway, little history nugget there for everybody. Um, Here's a question: Were the leaders? So you have leaders in Tigris and Euphrates. Was that part of the first design? Like, at what point did they come into play? Were they at the get-go, or did they come in later, or were they
They
first?
came in from the original design, because that was, as I just alluded to, that was kind of the setting, that there are the interrelationships, the marriages, the coalitions, but on the other hand, the conflicts at the same time between the kingdoms. And the idea as often came out of the blue, and I thought that's really nice, innovative, and that's very interactive, because I have a big interrelationship with other players. I have an interest with you in this one, I have an interest with you in that one, but on the other hand, you are my opponent, so, and I see where you are weak, and so now you're sitting in my kingdom and profit from my growth. And so it's lots of nice dilemmas and challenges. So yes, that was there from the beginning, and then we worked more on how do we make the individual kingdoms grow and fall apart again, and how can I nicely complement you out of my kingdom so that I can take over one of the leadership roles, because there are four different leaders who are looking at after different parts of the kingdom, like agriculture and religion and so on. And so each of them has a specific meaning.
Yeah. No, a lot of people say, well, I say a lot of people. I don't know. I mean, I've read it. reviews that people say that Tigris and Euphrates is an abstract game, but they don't really get the sense of that. Like it's, there is a theme there in it represented with an abstract mechanism. Do you agree with that? Like, I mean, what's your take on that? Kind of like there's no theme, it's an abstract game. But I guess
The,
you just kind of explained yourselves that it's not an abstract.
I mean, there have been quite interesting articles on that subject, not Tigers and Euphrates, but in general. Some people have the impression that my games are more a bit abstract, and they say, "Oh, he's a mathematician, he's a scientist," so that's quite clear. For me, I'm trying to, as a scientist, I'm trying to reduce information and bring it really down to the essence and have simple, adequately simple rules. And so I'm not a storyteller. The storyteller builds a game with lots of administration, lots of event cards and this and this and this. And I feel sometimes like an administrator there, even so there's richness of theme, but it sometimes is at the cost of focusing on the play. For me, a theme comes differently. So as an example, if I want to get kind of a trend going, like let's say I'm in a desert oasis and we have a market there and I'm looking for silk and I'm a trader. And so in a thematic game, you would have certain event cards and you would say, okay, silk raises by 2 cents per thing. And there is another buyer coming in and this buyer will take 200 pounds of silk and therefore the price goes up again. And this is kind of how the trend is built into this thematically. What I want to do is I want to have the people use the game as a platform and then experience it itself. So what I would say is, there is an information. So I'm not affecting the price by these cards and by these mechanisms. I let the players affect the price. Just by giving the information, there is a big caravan coming and they have lots of silk. So now what do the players think? The players think, silk will arrive, there will be an oversupply, silk price will fall. But I'm not saying the price will fall. The players think the price will fall. So they start selling silk as long as it's expensive. And what happens? They make the price fall. And then the price falls and falls. And then you actually say, the caravan hasn't even arrived yet, but the silk price is so low. Shouldn't I buy now? Even this is more supply coming. And so you experience these thematic processes more by yourself and as an interaction, rather than it being built obviously into the game. Therefore, I think my themes are a bit deeper to discover, but I have very few abstract games as such. There is a theme hidden in many of these to be discovered and to be experienced. And that's what I want. I don't want to tell you the theme. I want you to live the theme.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Is that that methodology of design, did that come naturally to you, or did you have to force yourself to adapt to do that kind of just thinking about it? Because I know like there are crutches in design by like, oh, we create event cards and that kind of makes themes happen and things like that. So
no, I couldn't force myself. This is my handwriting. So essentially, in a way, I'm interpreting what I'm naturally doing. Yes. And so as I say, I'm not a storyteller. I cannot kind of invent more and more and more things. This more annoys me. I'm trying to reduce it, and I try to give you the basic natural rules so that when you kind of assimilate your role, then it's not how can I beat the system with all these cards and so on, but how would I naturally react in this role? How would I act in this role? And that should make sense within the possibility of the rules. Yes. So it's not beating the system, but acting in the role and therefore contributing the role to the game. And that's what I want to do as a platform of the game, give you the rules so that happens.
Right. Well, that's fantastic. The designs that come out of it, that methodology are just so great. And I wish people spent more time. investigating these games, instead of being like, I don't really like abstract games, but it's like, well, it's not really an abstract if you get into the play of it and play it more than one time. By the way, we're at our halftime right now. We're at 30 minutes. I only have an hour with Reiner. He's graciously giving us an hour time in his busy schedule. It's
Oh,
yeah,
and we're on
fantastic.
question 2. Oh, very
I know
good.
we're only at question 2, and I've got 40 questions on this paper,
Oh,
which is, well, we might have to do this again. We'll just say that now. Can I ask another question about Tigris? I mean, there's this famous called Knizia scoring, which you may have heard of, where you score your lowest color is your best points. Was that something that was originally designed along with that game? I mean, obviously that's the scoring in the game, but did it come out now? Like, was it from the get-go? You're like, oh, this has got to be this way, or did it evolve?
I can't quite remember if it was there from the beginning. Probably not, but it made a lot of sense. I mean, I only recently, this year, discovered that that's called the Knizia scoring.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I think
thank you.
that's when I basically describe the game to people, like if there's a game that uses that same thing, I just say it's like Knizia scoring, like Tigris and Euphrates. Anyway,
But
yeah. So I
I
think we'll
think,
coin it to you.
you know, one of the important drivers of games is how you score. And the score should, again, be natural and not just try to beat the system and say, that's how I need to do the engine, and then I come back with the best score. And if you really look into Tigris and Euphrates, if you look at these kingdoms growing and falling apart again and being at conflict, and the whole time was changing, then what happens is that you need to keep your kingdom in balance. So you need to have a good religious foundation for the people to have the spirit of the culture. And then you need a strong rulership. But then on the other hand, all of this doesn't help you if the people starve. And if you
Right.
just feed the people to obesity, but something else falls down, then your kingdom will not survive. So you need to keep these different aspects in balance. And for me, forgive me for saying this again about my system, but for me, it's a really wonderful system to keep you focused on the balance. So it's no point in running away with one dimension. Okay, religious, I'm very strong. I can build one temple after another. I make richness red. I make one red point after another. So what is the point of making 10 more of these score points if I'm already through the roof with this? Should I not rather do an action which gives me one green point because I'm short in green? And so the dimensions, it's not linear. You need to really have a good measure. How do I keep my kingdoms in balance? And where do I place my leaders, those leaders which I'm weak, into a strong kingdom so that they can grow and bring me the right scores?
That makes sense. I could ask the same thing about monuments. Was that also part of the original design, or does that? I mean, you had this serendipitous thing that just when you get 4 of a color, it just turns into a monument, which I think most people would not think of that as a design like the first time. Did it just like appear to you, or was it part of
I
the
think that was
the game design?
added later when we looked at the balance of opportunities. How can you get different score points, and how do you get the balance of the scores? Also, the Joker, the golden points, which you can use for
Right.
any color. But
Which
I,
causes turmoil in the corners of the boards, which is amazing. Yeah.
but what I wanted to do here is to put more pressure on people, because if somebody has a kingdom with 2 monuments in there, the monument gives you 1 victory point in the respective color every turn. So you cannot just sit there and watch how the other one earns and earns and earns. You need to do something
Right.
about it. You need to,
Yeah.
if you earn more than the others, you just continue and you're happy. And try to keep the others off your back. But if you're earning less, you cannot just continue like this because the gap becomes bigger. So therefore, you need to force either have an internal revolution and kick the leaders out, or you need to go into conflict. And with a conflict, the kingdoms may fall apart completely and utterly. And the conflict can be in any of the 4 dimensions. So if you're just strong in one dimension, this is where the Knizia scoring comes in. If you're strong in one dimension, you make sacrifices, but you take the other kingdom apart.
Yeah. I love that game so much. I can't even just talking about it now makes me want to play it. Just because I was thinking about when that first time I played it. It was a 3-player game, and the other 2 guys were basically fighting each other. And I was sort of like sitting on the side, doing my thing, like kind of staying out of their conflict. But at the very end of the game, I made a move that basically won me the game, where I snuck in with a external conflict and took away just a large amount of points from one of them, and just anyway, it's delicious. If you haven't played Tigris and Euphrates, anybody watching this, or actually, what Tigris and Euphrates, I think that's the way I always say it, but it is titled Euphrat in Tigris in German. Is that just the terminology in German?
Yeah,
I might be
the
just
terminology in German is Euphrat and Tigris, so Euphrates and Tigris,
Euphrat
and
and
in
Tigris.
the Anglo-American world, it's Tigris and Euphrates. So,
It's weird that
uh,
it's swapped around somehow
yeah.
for us. Anyway, um, let's see. Do I want to have it ask another question about Tigris and Euphrates or move on? Is there
If you
anything else you want to
do,
talk?
then we'll
Yeah.
have to. If you do, then we'll have to call this the series number 1 of 55,000 interviews with
Let's
Scott.
leave it at that. We'll
And
just say we're excited about this new version. It looks great. The production will probably match it, because if you've seen the Raw from 25th Century, holy cow. By the way, Raw, another amazing game, auction game that so good. And I'm guessing, was that also, let's pivot to Raw. Um, that design, obviously an Egyptian theme. Was there some reading that you did about Egypt, and just kind of like, did that influence the design? Or did you just like, I like Egyptian
I like history, and my
history? Yeah.
favorite epoch in history is Egypt. And side remark. Now I have a bit of a team around me, and Britta, who does the licensing in our team, says you are not allowed to do another Egypt game. We have so many Egypt games. We need to have something. So I have sometimes I sneak one in through the back door, but yes. So Egypt is something I really love, and you pick the cherry. So I'm very proud of Ra as well. First of all, 25th Century did a wonderful job of bringing this back to the world with Kickstarter and all the different editions, deluxe editions. I'm proud of the game, and that is the mathematician in me again, because there is a big mathematical theory about auction theory. If you do the right auction, you can earn much more money through auctioning things away than doing the wrong auction process. For example, if the state auctions away the bandwidth to the telecom companies, huge amount of money involved, and depending on how you set it up, it makes a huge difference. So what I love about Ra is we have an auction game. The danger in an auction game is that one player is crazy, overspends all the time, and wins
That's
all
me.
the auctions. And what happens is that he has the greatest joy. He will go down in flames, but the other people don't get part in the game because if they bid reasonably, never win an auction. This is different in Ra, because in Ra, you have the sun god, the Ra tiles, and everybody has just the same number of tiles. And you can, within one kingdom, and there are 3 kingdoms, the early kingdom, the middle kingdom, and the late kingdom, as we all know from history. And so within each of these kingdoms, kingdom is not a physical thing, kingdom is a time thing here. Within each of these epochs, you have only got the number of suns and can only win that many auctions. So everybody has the opportunity to get something. But, and that's the very important thing, you're not only bidding with your sun tile, and they have different strengths, for the tiles you build up on the auction board to build your civilization. But you also get the sun of the last bid. And that means I'm not only bidding for the value now, but I'm also bidding for future bidding power. And that means I may actually be willing to take quite low value tiles, but I know if I get this very high auction tile, next epoch, I will be very strong and I can do something. And again, this is a non-linearity. Sometimes it is in an auction game too simple to just calculate the value of it, and I bid the value and then what? Here, it is not calculable, because how strong is the strongest sun in the next round? And then I have only got that many suns, and then they know I'm so strong. So they will always call the auction when there is too little in there, and I can never really bid with the big one. So it's not straightforward, but that's what I really love, that the auction is not just for value, but also for future power.
Yeah, the sun tile auction tiles is just chef's kiss. If you've not played Raw, I don't know who was watching right now. We've got about 30 people watching. Please play Raw and play it more than one time and see how it plays, and just like just the amount of interesting decisions come out of that game with pretty simple system, right? Like it's you turn over a tile, put it in, put it up for auction, decide or not if you're going to do an auction. It's very simple rules. The scoring is quite interesting. Like it's got a lot of combinations of scoring. Like you could go heavily with the emoluments, or you can go the Nile, which I love that the Nile water goes away every year. Like it simulates flooding and drought, which I love. Um, the leaders, there's so many good things in Raw. So another one of my favorites, obviously, which I'm gushing about. And the production from 25th Century is top notch. It is great. Um, would there be anything in the Raw design that we would be surprised to learn about when you're developing it during your development of it? Was it ever not Egypt, or was it something we might be surprised to learn?
Okay, now you ask me another epic answer story.
Okay. Well, we are let me see what's our time. We have about 18 minutes left, so you can use how
I
much of
think
that time you want.
Scott, we have only got one chance. We
Okay.
can only say that you prepared 42 questions and we only managed the first 4, and we talked about the classics. So we call this
Yeah.
episode
Well,
40
did you see the
years of
title I gave
classic
this?
games. And
Yeah.
we are certainly obliged to do a sequel of this so that we can go through the other questions, because usually I give long answers, but now I'm facing a interviewer in the conversation who also asks long questions and leads from one to the next. So we will not get that timed in an hour. But anyway, back to the development. Ra was actually the first game I did after I became a full-time game designer. And so I had plenty of time because business didn't squeeze me yet. I had time and I could grow. I didn't have a day job anymore. And I started, this is funny because in one of the drawers, you see some of the drawers here, my drawers where there is a new game. I hope people can't see the titles there and spy out what
I
I'm
can't
doing.
read it myself. No.
They will get
You don't have, do you have code word? You don't have code words
classes,
for your
they take
titles?
classes and everything. But in any case, so I'm actually working on this same concept again, which I tried in 97, end of 97, beginning of 98. And that was, I have a little mini game, a little card game, and I have a big board about Egypt. And my idea was, we play this 5-minute card game, and the cards I win in the card game, I can, after the little game, then use to position certain elements on the board, to develop the civilization on the board. After I've done that, we collect the cards and we play a new card game. And now I say, okay, I need to complete this temple. I certainly need 2 temple cards. And this guy wants to build his fleet along the river. I need to make sure that he doesn't get the ship cards. And then you play the little game, and then you play on the board again. And then you come back to the card game, and you place it there, and there, and there, and there. We played this game. It lasted about 3 hours. And I came to the conclusion, it's too epic, but it hasn't got the dynamics and the drive for a 3-hour play. It needed to be shortened. So it started out as this epic game. So I said, what is innovative about it? And in the end, I came to the conclusion, it's not the big board, it's the card game. And so we took the card game, and then, because we then laid out the cards, no longer things on the board, we saw that the cards become too big for the layout. So then we said, okay, we need to change it into tiles. So it became a tile game. And then we had developed this a bit of a deeper game. And so it became this auction game. And then we said, okay, but we need a little board in the middle. So the board came back and so that we can lay out what is auctioned. And so it was an enormous meandering odyssey, which sometimes happen when you design games, because I always say somewhat games are like children. And I can speak enormously about children and raising children. I don't have any. Well, I have 800, but they are slightly in boxes. So you cannot force a game somewhere. You just need to see the potential, and you can, like a child, you can promote the potential and help it to really fulfill its potential and see where its strengths are. And so you let the game or the child develop where it goes, and you can mentor it. And in the end, you come out somewhere. And the only thing is that you have a really good personality, or in this case, a really good game. And if I intended to make a big board game or a card game, doesn't matter. The game that comes out needs to be good. And I think what came out as Ra is not bad.
Gotcha. So there was a bigger version of Ra at one point? Interesting.
Never published, yes, but in the
Never
design.
published.
Yeah.
Do you think you could ever revive it, or?
No, as I say,
No,
I'm now
it's too
working
big.
on this idea of having a little mini game and putting it on the board and having a little mini. But it's completely different. It has nothing to do with Ra, but it's
Got it.
this idea which comes back to me. See if it works this time.
Got it. I had a question basically. Where is if I find my actual question? um, where is it? Well, basically it was like, what would have to happen for a game to be given up upon? And I guess you sort of answered that, but that was my question.
Yeah.
Is there any other types of things that you would hit, like a roadblock types of things that you would hit that maybe you give
It
up
is
on a
very
game?
hard to take your children and throw them into the bin.
Yeah.
But before the pandemic, I had 50 drawers. Then I couldn't test during the pandemic, and I sneaked in another 50 drawers.
Okay.
So I have 100 drawers. Each of the drawers is filled with, I think there are at the moment 2 or 3 empty drawers. I'm cursed by ideas, and I'm always lacking the time. So I have these drawers, and in each of the drawers is a beginning of a prototype or a playable prototype or to be tested, or even the ones with the green labels, finished, just write up the rules and make a prototype. I have 8 of them here, and I don't have time to finish them. I go on my design retreats. That's for the next episode. But in any case,
okay, you don't want to talk about the design retreats at all? I had that as a next question,
right now,
but it's not
I'm
enough
talking
time.
about how to let go, and that is not even a mad person like me can work on 100 designs. It's impossible. I'm only working on those which I can feed every week. We play almost every day. Playtesting is the heart of design, but more than 6 to 8 games I cannot have on the go and constantly feed. So there are lots of other monkeys in these drawers which shout, feed me. And then when I look at the game in a distance, oh, I haven't touched it for half a year or so, then it is easier to let go, have another view at it and say, why is it there? Because it got stuck. It's always those come to the forefront which work and which excite me, and oh yes, I know what to do and what to do. And those which get stuck, oh, they need to completely be reworked and it doesn't quite work, they fall back. And so it's a natural selection and evolution process that always the winners come to the forefront. And so sometimes they just meander away, and then I color code them. The green ones are finished. The blue ones are in development. The red ones are the strategic ones where I think I can do something groundbreaking when I have another design retreat. And then I have the black labels as well, which means I should have a critical look if it's worth spending more time on it. And usually I don't touch them because I think I give it another try. It's a sunk cost philosophy fallacy.
Yeah.
But essentially, it meanders away. Taking a game, I mean, sometimes it happens that we play a game once. I had this just now last week. We play a game once, and I had big hopes for it. It played perfectly in my mind, and we played, and I see it's just ill-constructed and it cannot be saved. Okay, that's fine. I spent a day on it. Do the first prototype, doesn't work, kaput.
Got it. So you have playtest every day. Is that with your team? Or do
Almost
you
every
have external playtest? Do you have people come to visit you to playtest, or is it?
Well, we are based in the center of Munich. Munich has quite a lot of people here, a big gaming community, and I have a group about 1,500, 2,000 people around me who
Oh
are
wow,
all
that's
very enthusiastic players. They know many more different games because I don't have time to play different games, and then can point out, oh, be careful, there's something similar there, don't go there, and so on. And a different group comes on the different work days, on the different days. Friday afternoon we play, Monday evening is a certain group, and so on and so on. Yes. Tuesday is my free day. So
oh well.
today.
Thank you for spending your time with us today.
No, otherwise we would be
Appreciate
testing.
it.
We always
I
start
know you'll be
testing at
testing.
1800, yes. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
18, it's
You
18.
work all day and then test all night. Like how many hours do you test at night? Like several
Always,
hours?
the test sessions are always 4 hours. That's where we play a few
4
games. So we
hours.
always test from 1800 to 2200, and then people know that it's end. Then I need to go to bed because I get up at 4 o'clock. And
4
so
a.m.
yes, yes.
Wait, what? You only sleep 4 hours? 6 hours?
No, no. Yeah, if it's a hard day, I take a half-hour nap during the day. That's more
Okay.
effective than sleeping longer. Yes, you need your sleep to be creative. But yes, the different test groups come, and that's of course nice because you get different angles. You play with this
Yeah.
group, and then I rework them, and I play with another group, and you get a different take. So you don't develop a convention within one test group, and then you need to have a robust game which really works. I mean, I'm an entertainer, but my entertainment is in boxes. People open the box and the entertainment needs to come out. So I'm not there anymore. So it needs to be tested so that it works for all players of the target group. Yes. And
So
that is robust testing.
in a test environment, do they fill out paperwork or do you interview or do you watch them play or how does that what's your secrets of how you run the 4 hour
You want my secrets?
test? Well, this might be for an aspiring designer that honestly it's hard to get play testers to play games in my experience.
Well,
But
let's say it like this. Our designs and our games are quite successful, and we have lots of publishers, and everybody who tests significantly in a game, not just plays one for half an hour, gets a credit in there. And being part of the success motivates, of course. And I have to pay due homage to all the playtesters because a lot of their creativity comes into the games, and we discuss a lot. So how do we do it? I will always be part of the playing. So I need to you cannot, whatever experience you have, you cannot calculate game fun, and you cannot kind of do an abstract model. You need to experience it. I will always be part of playing it. We play. Of course, I can always, with my stupid personality, make the game funny by being the clown. But this is not what I want to do. I'm more leaned back. Well, I try to, and we play, and then we discuss a lot, and we say, okay, what did work, what did not work, what was your feeling, what was your feeling, and so we get some kind of direction of what works, what doesn't work, what needs to be adapted, and then I go away and I rework it for the next group. And so that's how the process works. I take a lot of notes, but no, there's no bureaucracy with other people having to fill out something. And so they want to enjoy themselves. They are players, they are avid players, and we just play, and then we discuss, and then we take an end, and then we go to the next game.
got it.
And it keeps me alert because the next group is coming the next day. So better get going and
So you
rework the games and
do
do
you
it.
do you do this on the weekends also or are your weekends for
I
recreation?
I love to play on Saturdays. It's a bit harder to get players over the weekend. I'm not so much the late person because I'm an early person. So I prefer to play in the afternoons. We have a fixed Friday afternoon session, and I offer Saturday or Sunday afternoons, but sometimes they don't get overcrowded. Yes.
Got
So,
it.
but that's
Do
fun.
you provide snacks
Yes.
and drinks? What's the best snack for a game group? What's your favorite? Oh, what is that? Oh
These
wow, is
are
that nuts?
nuts, caramel nuts, and so on. Yes, it's
Oh, that
all
looks
here.
great.
But now I'm doing product placement. I should put them away,
Oh,
but
those, yeah, yeah. Oh,
those
Haribo
are It's all here. We are sitting at the testing table. Yes, so it's all here.
Wow. Awesome.
And the drinks are also here. Only water. And there is more stuff here, you see. And
Look at
so
that.
yes,
You do it right.
I
Got to
feed
feed them. Do you ever go out to dinner afterwards, or do you like just call it a day?
when it's 10 o'clock.
You're
That
just
is a
done.
separate thing that we sometimes we just go out, but that's more a personal thing not to talk about. But these are all friends, yes. So
Yeah, for sure.
we go out and do it. But no, if we playtest, we playtest. We concentrate on the playtesting. They can eat, but otherwise we play and discuss. And dare anybody to come late.
Oh, what, say again? If they're late, are they kicked out?
Nobody's allowed to be late. No, they get
okay.
severely punished. And
They
somebody
don't
likes
get this.
bananas.
They don't get the snacks.
One of the playtesters really likes bananas, so I always buy bananas when he's late. The bananas disappear.
That's
to
great.
keep the discipline. That's how the anarchy starts.
That's fun. That's great. 24 people. That's amazing. Yeah. It's almost like that's just like a think tank almost like this of game development. It's just, gosh. I was going to pivot again, but I almost want to talk more about this process, but, maybe just stop with that. And then I do have a question about, someone asked me, they saw you in Berlin. It was either Berlin or Munich. Probably not. I think it was Berlin. You were sitting in the park on a park bench with a rose in your hand. Do you remember this?
No.
You had a rose in your hand. You're sitting on a park bench. Maybe it was a doppelganger. They said they saw you one time. Do you not remember? Do you remember that?
I cannot recollect anything like this, and it looks very odd. Usually,
it is. That'd be an odd thing to see. Just Reiner Knizia sitting on a park bench with a rose.
I
No, maybe it was your long lost brother.
I don't think that was me, but I like to go into parks, go for a walk, and think about designs. And in earlier days, when I lived in Windsor in England, and went through the Windsor Great Park, where the Windsor Castle is with the Queen, or now the King, I talked to myself, and I always feared that they would come and institutionalize me for being mad at that time.
Oh.
Now I can freely go into the parks and talk to myself because everybody talks.
Everybody's talking to themselves.
Everybody talks on the phone and everything. So if I talk to myself, people just think that's normal. I'm just one of the crazy people always on the phone. So no, that I will do, and it's moving. Healthy body, healthy mind. Being out in the fresh air, being away from the operational side. And this is, so to speak, my mini retreats, and the other one are the big retreats. But I said 3 retreats 3 times. You know that we only have 3 minutes left.
I know, 3 minutes.
Agreement.
Well, I can ask you a different question.
Nobody can stand more than 60 minutes with us. Neither with you nor with me. So I think it's not for me to say. I think we have to agree that we have to make a sequel. Because
for sure.
I think it's 38 questions left. We made 4 questions, I think.
Well, a lot of them are very similar, which I think, we could probably come up with some new stuff we could schedule another one at some point.
I think we should also be fair to the people that before they whatever they do, give up in despair.
Yeah, for sure. I like to keep it.
I shouldn't take over. You are running the show, so. But
I guess I don't really. I was trying to find a question that would be like a very. Oh, you know what? I got one question.
Okay.
What's your favorite food? That's a quick answer, right?
Pasta.
You might have to think. Pasta.
Pasta is the one, but then I that I lived in the States for a while. When I studied there in Syracuse, upstate New York, and I loved and they called me the bread eater. Because I love bread, not the soft bread, but the harder, the pumpernickel.
Okay.
And so I really love bread, and that was my nickname there, the bread eater.
Interesting, the bread eater. Is there any specific type of pasta you like a sauce, or is it just anything?
Bolognese. Spaghetti bolognese, so it's good.
Have you ever made it? Have you ever cooked bolognese?
No, I can only make.
It's quite hard.
I can only make fried eggs. That's all I can.
Fried eggs is your thing.
But the
Do you do
microwave
like,
works quite nicely with food. But I eat lots of salad and so on. So
yeah,
neither me and I dare to say my wife also. We are not cooks. We we just eat simple things, and that's fine.
got it. Okay. Well, I wanted to thank you for spending the time. And I think we covered some interesting topics here, even though we were talking about older games, which an old new game coming soon. And hey, there's the timer.
So
Um,
next time we will
next
talk
time
about newer games,
we'll work
and we
together.
will
We'll
talk
talk about new
about the new
games.
trends and where we are going and all the secrets that lie beyond the
I know
new
you've got
releases.
100
I'll share
shelves to
another new
talk about
release next time with you.
next time.
Every time we sit together, I'll share a new release, a secret of a new release.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Reiner.
And next time we'll be more disciplined and we'll do double the amount of questions.
Ooh. All right, I'm going to end the stream now. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Awesome. All good. Well, that was fun. Time just